Nikki, how did you find Carnivore?
Well, I actually know someone. There's someone in my life that has been very, very successful on carnivore. She actually started keto and then transitioned to carnivore. And her main goal, I believe, was the weight loss in the beginning, and then of course the health benefits followed. But that's been years. And it was always something that I kind of looked at from afar and went, "Nah, it's too hard. That's nope, can't do it. Too hard." And then last year in April, I went to the doctor and I had some people that I worked with at the time that were taking GLP-1s. And I had gone to the doctor and said, "Look, I need to do something. I'm not necessarily looking for something to take the weight off. I need a body that functions. I love to garden. I have chickens. I have children. I'm going to have grandchildren. I have two grandchildren that I want to be able to, pick up and play with and be around and keep up with. And there's all these things that I want to do, and my body is failing me here." I had gained a substantial amount of weight when I had started that job because, I've always been heavy, but it was my first sit down job. It was my first desk job of my life. And the pounds just pack on. I had previously been a bartender and a teacher, and I had worked at Home Depot. Like everything was always on my feet. And then I went and sat at a desk for 2 years and I went, whoa, okay, this is a lot of weight. And so that was kind of my spark. And that doctor, I did not get on a GLP-1. I did get on a pill, a medication that basically curbed my appetite. And I did that for 4 months. And I lost 15 pounds over 4 months. I started to see a little bit of a difference, but something in me for a while had just kept going, you can't poo-poo the carnivore unless you try it. You got to give it a shot. And one day my husband told me that he had run into a guy that was on carnivore, and this guy was talking about all these health benefits, and I just went, "Yep, that's it. That's it." So 2 days later I started carnivore diet. Today's actually 6 months exactly since my first day on carnivore. So,
Oh, wow. Happy anniversary.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Um, so how long was it before you realized, oh, wow, this is definitely a thing?
The carnivore, oh, it didn't take long. Literally within days. So I knew to expect kind of that flu when you first start because you've removed the sugars, you've removed the carbohydrates and all of that. And so I knew because I've actually tried everything you can think of in my life: keto, Atkins, plant based. Like I've tried all. I even did plant paradox, which is really really hard. But I knew that removing that stuff from my diet was going to be rough. And so the first couple of days I went through the withdrawal. And then after that, it really didn't last that long for me at all. After that, my energy skyrocketed. And I went, oh, okay. Well, this is fun. This is cool. And so it was quick. I actually went into it thinking I'll do a 30-day reset, right? Like the idea of the Whole 30, I've done Whole 30 before. That's an elimination diet. But I was like, okay, carnivore is even stricter. So we're going to see stuff really quick. And I did. It was awesome. And so I didn't make it 30 days before I decided I was going to stay on it and see how far we can go.
Nice. And so your energy went up. Have you noticed any flow-on effects from that or anything else changing over the last 6 months?
Oh, I have a whole list. I have a whole list. I actually talked about this on my vlog today about because it's the 6 month anniversary, but um, I I have I have always been a headache slash migraine sufferer, always. And in 2012, I had a meningioma brain tumor removed, And I remember going into that surgery, I had that craniotomy. I remember thinking, please be the reason for my headaches. Please be the reason for my headaches. And it wasn't. The tumor came out and the headaches stayed with me. And at the point when I started carnivore, I was averaging about 6 days a week where I was taking over the counter medication every day just to try to control the headaches because my pain tolerance is high. So they were pretty bad. And I was just living life like that, like in this fog of pain. The same thing, I had a knee pain that had started that it started after I had put on the extra weight. I had diagnosed arthritis in my hip, that I had been seeing someone for. I was doing the exercises and going to see him for treatment and all, and the pain wasn't budging until I got on the carnivore. There's some interesting things with my mouth. Like I didn't know going into carnivore that your teeth were gonna feel clean all the time. Like you just because you're not loading them up with sugars and stuff and your teeth feel clean all the time. I'd had some bleeding gums. I have a tooth still that I was supposed to have extracted. All that's going away. I think my gums don't bleed anymore. The energy is a big one. The only caveat about the energy is that it's now to the point where I have to exhaust myself in order to go to sleep because it's like carnivore gives you a big amount. And if you have a lazy day and you just watch movies all day or something, at the end of the day, you're like, oh, well, wait, I still want to do stuff. I have to use up all of my energy. But my sleep has definitely improved too while on the carnivore. I
So
just have a long list.
so when you actually do kind of get to sleep, like, are you you're out for the count then? It's not like broken sleep anymore or
Well, I never had broken sleep. I just couldn't get to sleep. I would be hours laying in bed. And I think that the ease of getting to sleep now has come from like the clarity in mind that I'm getting, like it's calmness because I've always had a very active mind and I would just be bombarded by thoughts and things to think about and rehashing and and I'm just calmer in general. My brain doesn't overreact to everything. I don't freak out. I used to give myself anxiety, like anxious feelings. It was all self-induced. It was all just me, making things up in my head, making them worse than they were. With carnivore, I don't really think about it. Like I just don't do it. I can process, and be smart so I'm clear and focused a lot more easily than I was before.
yeah, that's the great thing about carnivore is like you can look at things more clearly. You can kind of uh, 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 I wonder if this is similar for you, but I've found like when I look back on the past, a lot of the things I did and a lot of the decisions I took, especially when it comes to work, were a lot more emotional than they are now. I'm much better at looking at a situation objectively and kind of stepping back and looking at kind of more abstractly and going, yeah, I don't need to be involved in that anymore.
Yeah, I have noticed that there is definitely an ability, a kind of discernment ability that I have where I can recognize my emotions much quicker rather than reacting with my emotions or, because of my emotions, I can step back quickly and go, wait, let's calm down here. Is this an emotional reaction? And I can discern what's going on around me in my world much better now just because I'm overall experiencing more calm and because of that, more joy. I'm finding a lot more just simple joys in life that I was so negative before, I would miss them. And so I saw a video somewhere that said, look for the glimmers. And it's like, that's what I do now. I look for those, thank you for their green light, or just little things like that. And it's just changed a lot in my attitude and the way I react to the world.
Right. And, as far as weight loss, like, you'd lost the 15 pounds initially with those appetite suppressants, and then moving into carnivore, have you noticed, much of a change, or has it really just been rebuilding kind of, like, mentally and that kind of thing in the process?
Yeah, no, it's interesting to me that I didn't even remember to count weight loss as one of the things that have happened because it is important and getting the weight off of my structure is an important part of that functioning body that I was aiming for. But it wasn't my main motivator for carnivore. It was the health benefits. But I have in 6 months, as of this morning, I weighed 40 pounds less than I did on August 23rd. So over the last 10 months, I have a total of 55 pounds lost, but the bulk of that was on carnivore. And a big chunk of that was in the beginning. It came off really fast in the beginning. And I even expressed some concern on my own vlog about how fast it was coming off because I have known people where loose skin was an issue when they had lost weight super fast. And I was afraid of that. I've gotten some feedback that told me, and I'm seeing it happen, that carnivore slows down, like the weight loss, and your body just starts to equalize from the inside out. And that's what I'm seeing. And as of yet, I'm not seeing any areas where I'm gonna find that to be a concern at the end. And that's what I want. I want that gradual change in my body so that then there's less left over, I guess, to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. So how are you eating day to day at this stage?
Well, so, I crack myself up because I eat a carnivore-ish diet, right? And by that, I mean, I eat avocado, which a purist wouldn't eat. I actually don't eat a ton of animal fat. I had a really hard time becoming fat adapted. I really struggled with restroom issues for a while, and the bacon was causing me problems. The butter was causing me problems. The fat that I would eat on a steak was causing me problems. And so over time, I've just kind of experimented and landed on the foods that seem to work the best for me. I also struggled with this rash. I might have been around the 3-month mark. What it was itchy and it was on my neck and my back and my arms. And I think I narrowed it down to a histamine problem because I was eating basically eggs and ground beef, which both have been shown to kind of cause those problems. So I never stopped. I eat like burger patties every day. I eat them every single day. That's my first meal of the day, every day. I eat eggs, but I did back off of those because of that rash and that helped it clear up. So I eat eggs occasionally now, but I added in the avocado and I also added in cheese to try to get some fat because I was really struggling with the animal fat. And I eat jerky, and I eat beef sticks. I learned a lesson about sugar in those products that I didn't know was there. So now I look for the zero sugar jerkies and meat sticks and I eat those. And, I have a job that's really on the go. And so things like a beef stick and a string cheese is what gets me through when I need to, because I did one meal a day for about a month. And that after that, because when you first start carnivore, you're not hungry. You just you don't want to eat, and you get to the point where you're almost forcing yourself to eat because you know you have to eat. And after about a month of one meal a day, I got to where I needed to eat twice because I also can't put a lot in at once. So I think if I could put in all of my food, mostly meat for the day at one time, I would probably be able to get away with one meal a day. but I would just get full so fast, and I still get full so fast. So I eat a second meal. One of them is always burger patties, either with eggs or with cheese. And sometimes if I have avocado, I eat that. And then I also eat a beef and pork sausage, which is again probably not a purist food, but it works for me. It's something different than burger patties. I eat steak. Anytime I can catch them on sale, I eat steak. I'm not a huge pork fan and I'm not a huge chicken fan. So I just prefer beef over everything else.
Yeah, I quickly realized after I started Carnivore that the only reason I'd been eating chicken in the past was to use it as a vehicle for other things like, sauce and stuff like
Yes.
that.
Yeah, I do every now and then. I have a little treat of like buffalo wings with hot sauce on them. I don't really do cheat days. I have found in my experience that telling myself something like a cheat day will lead to prolonged cheating. And so I just don't. I just have a little treat if I want it because it's still a meat and the hot sauces are mostly vinegar and butter, and so but generally I really am just a ground beef patty girl and eggs. That's what I eat the most of.
Right. Yeah. And so your husband was kind of the catalyst for you doing this because he said, "Oh, the other person has been doing carnivore." Um, has he tried eating this way as well?
So, um, oh, sorry, I'm kicking things. No, he does not. He eats a different sort of diet. He is I'm a big believer that we all need to try and find out what works best for us. He has some medical conditions where he's not as comfortable just going for it the way I am. And so he eats a low carb diet. He has type 2 diabetes, so he does eat low carb, but he does eat fruits and vegetables.
So, how about feedback from people around you, like colleagues at work? Have they said, "Well, you've changed quite a lot," or "We never see you eating anything. What's going on?"
Well, it's funny because I started carnivore on August 23rd, and then September 5th was my last day at my long-term job, my desk job. I left that job and I got back into more active kind of work. I do work part-time. I teach, and so I have had conversations with their it's adult education. So I've had conversations about my way of eating. I think the biggest, they haven't known me long enough and seen enough change to really like comment, but there are always I could never do that, or that's crazy that you can do that. Don't you get bored eating the same, the kinds of things that you would expect, and probably the same kinds of things that kept me from trying carnivore for so long.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's understandable, yeah, when you look at it from what your perspective would have been in the past, like I would have been the same. I was like, yeah, I mean, keto's all right, but this seems a bit weird just going, full on animal products, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's portrayed too. If you look at social media and some of the content that's out there, there's an awful lot of people that take whole butter sticks and just bite into them, right? Which is for a lot of people off-putting. And so those kinds of thoughts existed in me. I thought that's what it was, right? Like I thought it was like a whole bunch of steak and then eating butter and that's it. And even the one person that I knew that did really well, she was very strict. She was lion, period. Like and she didn't play around. She didn't drink anything but water, no tea, no coffee, like she was very, very strict. And I knew that while I wanted an elimination diet, I didn't necessarily want to be like this sort of prisoner to the cow. I wanted to be able to number one, afford it. Number two, enjoy it because I would just as soon eat burger patties as eat a steak. Like I like them. I used to before carnivore, I would just eat ground beef like with a spoon. So maybe I was in training for carnivore and didn't know it.
Yeah. Um, so, you know, talking about moving towards this way of eating, if someone expressed interest in doing it and they said, "Nikki, tell me what to do," would you advise them to move slowly, maybe reduce the carbs, go low carb, keto, and then move to carnivore? Or would you say just rip the Band-Aid off and jump in?
I do think that depends on the person, and I think we have to be honest with ourselves. I had to rip the Band-Aid because moving slowly wasn't gonna work for me at all. And I know that about myself. I'm 50 years old, and I can admit that I'm kind of an all or nothing kind of person. Either I go for it or it's not gonna work. But for me, that is probably what made me successful right off the bat is that I made a commitment. I decided to do it. I did tell myself only 30 days, which kind of in the back of your mind makes you think, oh, well, it's only 30 days. Like, I'm not trying to change everything forever. And then when you see that it starts working, you start thinking about, whoa, this may be forever. Like this could be a really long time. But I'm a big, big believer in people being honest with themselves and doing the things that are going to work best for them. I don't think I have the authority to tell someone else what they should do. But I think that I definitely would advise, yeah, go for it. However you want to do it, either keto first into carnivore or just pick a day and start, get you some burger patties.
Nice. So you mentioned your vlog. How can people find you on YouTube?
So my channel is called Scratching the Dirt, and the channel started because it's all kind of tied together in this weird way. But I started the channel because I wanted to kind of chronicle and share our property and our chickens and the gardening and I've found a lot of peace in being outside and working in the garden. And this all started while I was still working a stressful job and then when I started carnivore, I went, well, let me do a vlog on this. This could be interesting. And it's all part of who I am and what I'm doing because the purpose of carnivore is to get in physical condition to do the things I love. And so I started the Scratching the Dirt channel and the vlog is the only like just head talking kind of content. Everything else on there is us and the property and stuff.
No worries. Well, I'll link to your YouTube in the show notes. Nikki, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I love talking about it.